Well, hello. What a pleasure it is to be with you all. It's hard following this team. My heart is still full of admiration for them, and I know that you have deep appreciation for all members of your melanoma team. I'm Claire Casselman. I'm a clinical social worker in the Cancer Center. I'm part of the Complementary Therapies team. You may have utilized my services. You might have also met my colleague, Sandra Drabant, our art therapist, Bob Huffman, our music therapist. You might have met Madison McTevia, who runs our program called Families Facing Cancer. You also might have met Bruce Paul or Shama Mehta. There are two spiritual care providers in the Cancer Center. The Complementary Therapies team is available to you for individual consultation. We also run some groups and some programs. So check out on the Rogel Cancer Center, check out Complementary Therapies in the search function, and you'll find all of us and the various ways in which we have services available to you and how to contact us and get to see one of us. I wonder if you would just do a brief exercise with me. It's not jumping jacks or anything, so don't get excited. Find your feet. Just send your awareness and your attention into your feet and notice what's there. Maybe your feet are cool. Maybe they're kind of warm. Maybe you want to wiggle your toes a little bit to really feel your feet more fully. Maybe they're kind of buzzy with energy. Maybe they're numb. Maybe you notice that there's a little bit of energy coming up from your feet over your ankles and into your calves. Maybe you notice that there is a sense of groundedness as your energy moves through the bottoms of your feet into the floor. Or if you're seated in a chair with your feet raised, maybe just feeling that going down the backs of your ankles and the backs of your feet. And if you use your imagination, you can picture that whatever your feet are planted upon is somewhere, somehow, ultimately in touch with the earth. Grounded. Maybe if you push down on your feet a little bit, you'll feel the pushback of the solidarity or the solidness of the floor itself. And just notice that. And maybe you can just use your breath and your mind's eye to send your breath into your feet. That energy. And as you exhale, maybe you can feel the energy coming up from your feet and out and exiting your body, bringing with it any stress, any tension, any discomfort that happens to be taking residence in your body, sending it out as you exhale. And just notice the consistency, the constancy, the presence of your feet. And when you're ready, bring your attention back here to me, because it's all about me. What'd you notice? Anybody notice anything about that? It's okay if you don't. That, when you're having one of those days, when you're having one of those moments in one of those days, maybe you're sitting in the waiting room. Maybe you're sitting in a treatment room. Maybe you've just pulled your, well, no, I don't want to say anything negative about the parking, so I'll move on. Maybe you're waiting somewhere, or maybe you're just envisioning what tomorrow is going to look like because you have a lot of tests and a lot of appointments. And if you're like so many people that I know, and even myself, that kind of day, that kind of moment can just really send us into a future that hasn't happened yet, even though we're reacting as though whatever it is that we're picturing, this awful thing that may be happening, or uncomfortable thing that may be happening, or frustrating thing that may be happening, we're going to have a reaction to it. Because our tendency as human beings is to run into the future with our worries or with our anxiety and create a moment that's difficult to tolerate. And so when you're in that space and in that place, Recognize it and bring yourself on back to the present moment. Bring yourself on back to here. Ask yourself, where are my feet? Where are my feet? Where am I? And this exercise in grounding can be very helpful and very useful because it can happen in just a few moments that you come back here and be present and be here. Each of you have had the traumatic experience of hearing those words, you have cancer, or sitting next to a loved one who has heard the words, you have cancer. And what we know, what the science tells us, is that the brain just kind of jumps into overdrive. We get this cascade of adrenaline or cortisol or epinephrine activating biochemicals that send us into this place of discomfort and worry and vigilance. And maybe you've noticed that there are times that you just feel hypervigilant. Maybe this loud sounds didn't used to startle you, but maybe they do now. Maybe you didn't used to have trouble sleeping, but maybe you do now. Maybe you could say anything that was on your mind to a loved one or to a friend without worrying that you're going to worry them. But maybe that's your experience now. So life changes. Our relationships can change. The way we view ourselves change because you become a patient. And while that's a very helpful term, and a very important term, it's not all of who you are. You remain a bona fide human being with all kinds of competence as a parent, as a partner, as a family member, as a professional, as a friend, as a person with a riotous sense of humor, as a person who loves life and loves the world. That doesn't change, but we add a label of patient. And so it's easy to slip out of this awareness that we have a lot of strengths and a lot of competence, because when you come to see us, we talk about what's wrong with you. And that is difficult and that's challenging. Thank goodness when you come to see this team, you get a little more than that. They do relate to you as a whole person. But there's all kinds of invitations to get caught up in our anxiety, our stress, or even get to that point of not only being stressed, but distressed. And so what do we do about that? Well, I want to talk real briefly, very briefly, about 5 different domains that we look at in how to manage the stress and the distress. We ask the question, is this person getting good nutrition? Is this person getting good fuel? And you've already touched on that today. We ask the question, is this person getting adequate sleep? And that's, of course, the bedrock of health. And part of the problem is that we all know that that's a bedrock of health. We've all been lectured over and over again about how important it is to get good rest and get good sleep. And so when we're having trouble getting sleep, which is understandable and quite common, we get even more worried. And I don't know if you do this like I do. It's like, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm awake. It's like, okay, if I go to sleep now, I can still get another 4 hours. Okay, now it's 4 o'clock. Okay, Claire, if you go to sleep now, you can still get another 2 hours. And so it's like let's come on. And what we don't realize is how this tension builds up around our sleep. I mean, we're already carrying around tension in and of itself. But when we start focusing on the things we know we ought to be doing, but just can't seem to do, then now not only is our mind trying to give us this little lecture about, come on, Claire, grow up, go to sleep. I think there was a book written for parents many years ago that used an expletive that's not part of my language, that about how frustrating it is to get a child to go to sleep. But we talk to ourselves that way sometimes. Claire, will you just go to sleep? And so now we're all really stirred up. And of course, that's so conducive to sleep. I want you to think about a couple of things. I want you to, if you are able, to very easily and without worrying about waking anybody that's in the bed with you, just very gently get out of bed. You don't have to turn on lights or anything. I'm telling you because our body is now all tense. And so that tension that we're feeling in our mind is in our bodies. And I want you to get out of bed and try to just do some very, very gentle stretching. Very gentle to release that tension. Maybe it's putting your feet against the wall. your hands against the wall and your feet behind you and just stretching out your hamstrings a little bit and reaching back. Or maybe it's putting your arms up here on the goalpost. I will take this opportunity to say the University of Michigan fans have seen this far more often than MSU, but I know that's dangerous. I know that's terribly dangerous, and I've lost the attention and the esteem of many of you in the room, and I apologize for that but put your hands up in the goalpost and then just very gently, so you can pull your scapula together on the back, your shoulder blades, just very gently pull those back and allow yourself to just, open up your chest a little bit and make some room to breathe, some room to let go of this tension that we feel when we're just carrying the burden of trying to get to sleep. Second thing I want you to do is to feel your feet in bed, because that's good. But the second thing I want you to do is imagine you are strolling down the street that you grew up on and just seeing the houses. Who lived where? There's the Joneses. Their daughter, Tammy, was in my class. Gosh, she was so good at math. And there's the Brown's house. And Mr. Brown used to play the piano with all the windows open in his house. And there's Mrs. Onstott. And she made real homemade popcorn balls for Halloween that she would hand out. And just take that walk down the street now and just allow yourself to receive all the goodness that was there. I realize you might not have lived in a place where there was goodness on the street. If you grew up in Kansas like I did, you might not have lived on a street at all. You might have lived on a gravel road, or if you had a really good location, lived on oil, and that's the blacktop. But find that maybe it's walking down a court, maybe it's just reviewing who you last saw at a meeting and just thinking something positive about each of those people. But put yourself in a place that allows you to let go of the tension and receive the goodness that's all around you, that's gotten you to this point in your life. So when we're having sleep, and then there's a guided imagery recording for sleep in the library of guided imagery that I've made that's on the website. Again, if you look up Complementary Therapies or just look up guided imagery on our site, you can find it, you can listen to it, you can even download it. We also ask not only nutrition and sleep, but we also say, is this somebody who's getting to move their body? And whether moving body for you is taking a walk, or even something maybe just a little more strenuous than that. Maybe for you, moving your body is filling the bathtub full of water as full as you possibly can. Pull the plug and fight the current. But a way to move your body is really very important. It increases the oxygenation, which helps us when we're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. It helps us, again, as we expire, as we exhale, we're sending out all that built up stress and tension and worn out energy as we exhale. The breath is so very, very important. The breath is our probably most personal and most accessible tool for managing the stress and managing difficulty. Some people, when we get really anxious, have this sensation, I can't catch my breath. I can't catch my breath. Well, the problem isn't that we've suddenly forgotten how to breathe. The problem is we haven't let go of the last breath. We're so anxious. We're holding our breath. You ever catch yourself holding your breath? The next time you hear yourself sigh, thank yourself, because that means your body got the fact that you were hanging on and just needed to let it go. Now, I realize that children have a way of sighing that tips off to us that they're very unhappy and bored and that we're the worst adults in their lives possible. And that's different because sighing gets a lot of bad press, but just let your breath go so that you're making space for that next nourishing and filling breath to come in. And so that inhaling, if you inhale through your nose, is what's advised this time of year. If you have allergies, that maybe not be so readily accomplished on your part, but inhaling through the nose and exhaling it activates our parasympathetic nervous system. It switches our brain chemistry and our body chemistry, letting it go. It sends us into the parasympathetic, which is the automatic down regulator. So inhale through the nose. Now, this is going to sound like no shit Sherlock or thank you, Captain Obvious, but be sure and exhale. And utilize that exhale. It's one of your greatest allies. Let it go. Just let it go. Again, Sometimes when we're really stressed and in distress, we hang on, and that includes our breath. So let it go. It can be through your mouth or your nose. It doesn't have to be Lamaze. It doesn't have to be, this real intense kind of breathing, but just if you have a hand over your belly button and you inhale, you should, through your nose, you should actually feel your hand moving away from your spine ever so gently. And then as you exhale, feel your hand moving back towards your spine ever so gently. And that's a good thing to practice, particularly at red lights. Don't try it in downtown Ann Arbor right now, or you'll miss something because there's construction everywhere. And so that's a good time again. Driving through traffic in downtown Ann Arbor can be very stressful, so find your feet and just check in and use your breath. There are many more resources on the Cancer Center website. Will there be a follow-up email, Chris, going out to participants, or Dr. Fesher? Will there be some sort? Yes. Okay. I will get to you some additional information about resources and tools that you can use to manage stress and distress and manage anxiety. But it was a real gas, and I'll also tell you what the other two domains are. So stay tuned and look for that. I wish you well. I wish you full, deep, luxurious inhalations and the release and freedom of a good old exhalation. They say, don't blow it. I'm telling you, blow it. Thank you.